When you wanted to create the impression that you were having an education revolution, we built a whole series of plywood classrooms. Some of them still in existence. Yeah? We built whatever we wanted right away. But these schools are on vacation, and we send them on vacation because of the crisis. We could have found a building to use in the meantime. But no, we're going to build one. And when that finish, then we're going to address the situation. That is how we prioritize things in this country. That is what passes for leadership in this country. So we seem to be heading down the road where the economy is more important than saving lives. You don't seem to think that if we save lives, we'll have those lives to contribute to the building of the economy. Right now, we're so concerned about the 2020 general elections, trust me. That remains the primary concern. So dear friends, we are in a quandary. Because as you've seen in other parts of the world, we're not going to be any different. Where there is one, there's two. Where there's two, there's three. Where there's three, there's four. From what we've been hearing in terms of the movement of some of the people who returned and who were supposed to be under self-quarantine, we ought to be very worried. Let us be fair, dear friends. Since the start of the COVID-19, even before it got this designation from the World Health Organization, we have been operating as something of a loose cannon here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our Prime Minister and seemingly Minister of Speech, Minister-in-Chief, Papa Gonzalez, has been very consistent. His mouthings seem to suggest the following: I am in charge. We will not close our borders. We will save our economy regardless. I will guide and protect all of you. I am your best bet at survival. Isn't that how it comes across? Isn't that what seems to be what we are hearing? But it is not about I. It is about us. It is about a nation. And there is absolutely no way that we can accept the fact that the Prime Minister of this country ignored the leader of the opposition in his appeal for a collective, non-partisan approach to addressing this current situation. If ever there was any semblance of a belief in Gonzalez that the leadership, the political leadership of this country can bring the nation together, then he would have accepted readily and urgently a meeting with all political parties. You see, there was once this contract with civil society that was prepared prior to the elections of 2001. We said then on Just Another Loop that it was just part of the politicking of Gonzalez and his grouping. Because he possesses the gift of gab and he can write profusely. But at the end of the day, it was not worth the very paper it was written on, and it would go nowhere. Where is NASDAQ today? Where is it? Where are all those people who were hopeful that being part of the ruminants of the left and being part of the new right, that they would have been able to utilize these programs. Where is the odd thing? Huh? Another institution that was supposed to stand the test of time. Huh? You see the former leaders walking around, huh? Looking for something to do because that dream that they once had, that this was somehow going to work, and they're too embarrassed and too ashamed to say that they have failed us. So the contract with civil society really should have been invoked at this point in addressing this pandemic. No, it has to be corporation soul. It has to be about I. It has to be about hubris. It is not national togetherness. There will be no together now, unless it is forced upon us by dint of circumstance as a result of this pandemic. The request was made by the leader of the opposition, ignored in large part for the purpose for which it was intended by the government. Nobody in government had enough sense to say we should see this as bigger than us? Or is it that they all felt that to do so, to work in harmony, to save lives in St. Vincent and the Grenadines may cost them the elections? Is that what they are thinking? That's how myopic we are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? God forbid. You know, friends, first we had none. Zero. We were looking around us and we were looking at the map and we had zero. And then we had one. Then we had one. Then almost on the very day that the one had been declared recovered, we had our second case. And that was as if we were trying to replace the first one. And then we moved on to a third. And before we knew it, we were into 7. We asked their friends, is St. Vincent and the Grenadines now at a stage that we had predicted but feared would happen? Are we having sudden, almost exponential growth in the number of cases of COVID-19 in this country? What is the next number going to be? And when? On the 1st of April, what would normally have been considered April Fool's Day, Wednesday, this country recorded its second confirmed case of COVID-19. Yeah? But it's interesting, we mentioned earlier the communication fracas. The free-for-all. Because here's Eyewitness News, dated 1st April 2020, updated at 5:47 p.m. We quote, St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Wednesday recorded its second confirmed case of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health said in a press release Wednesday afternoon, which it subsequently recalled, saying it would send a replacement soon. So they sent out a release and then they recall it, saying they would replace it. Eyewitness News goes on and we quote, however, the ministry later confirmed the initial press statement, adding that it will provide additional information in a subsequent release. Just what we were saying there, friends. Just what we were saying earlier about communications. There's nobody really managing the communications with regard to this pandemic in our country. Yeah? So we had that problem. Okay? And then we were told, quote, the sample which tested positive was taken from a female patient who had traveled to St. Vincent and the Grenadines from the United States on March 25th, 2020. The patient and all other passengers on her flight was in mandatory quarantine from the time of her arrival in SBG. She reported symptoms of March 28th when a sample was taken for COVID-19. The Vincentian national was maintained in isolation since that period, the statement said. Okay? Now, end of quote. But that patient was supposed to have been in mandatory quarantine, was seen in different places. So how the mandatory quarantine works under our current system. If they were able to find closed circuit television video footage of the lady in one place, if other areas and agencies and individuals had been face to face with that lady knowing that she was in a mask, wearing a mask, that passengers in the vehicles that she used were aware that she was there. So tell us then, how does mandatory quarantine work in St. Vincent and the Grenadines under the current administration? How does the command center explain the whereabouts of this second case while under mandatory quarantine? Yeah? Okay? And we are told that up until that time we had sent 44 samples for testing. Only 44. Only 44. So it seems as though the testing business is only when you feel sick, you go for the test. Because the next thing we might hear about is the cost of the test. That might be the next economic concern that we might have as a country. But the same Ministry of Health has been preaching for years that they've been moving towards a preventive rather than a curative approach. So you notice how we've been doing the tests. Only when the situation arises that somebody is deemed to be showing some symptoms, because we don't have the capacity apparently to do it any other way. But people are watching on televisions how different countries have been saying better to get a test. Doesn't matter that some political leaders are saying, don't bother. Only go if you feel you need it. But there are others who have discovered that prevention is better than cure. The old people have a saying, you know, who do hear, go feel. And I mentioned that to Randy Duffwell, and Randy Duffwell's response was, hey, people who hear, there's also feel, you know. And I really didn't think of that as a response, but it's a good response. So sometimes those who hear will also feel, because they're not willing to listen. And we've always been told of the fundamental difference between hearing and listening. Listening is a willingness to apply what one has heard, to make sense of it all, and to act on it. But the old people saying of those who don't hear, you don't want to hear, you don't want to listen, you will pay the price of feeling the consequences. Now, interestingly, in that Eyewitness News report of 1st April, they said CAFA, which is the testing agency in Trinidad, rejected samples for 4 persons because they did not satisfy the testing criteria. Okay? But not long after that, 2 days later, on the 3rd of April, at 8:06 a.m., Eyewitness News is reporting that the previous night, which was really 2 days later, which would have been the 2nd, the 1 day later, because we had the report on the 1st, now on the 2nd, the night of the 2nd, 9:46 p.m. it was said, of the 2nd, said Vincent and the Grenadines registered its 3rd confirmed case of COVID-19. Yeah? Its 3rd case. So we got one on the 1st, we got one on the 2nd. Yesterday, the 3rd, we realized we up to 7. Understand what we're saying? We get one cleared. On the 1st, we get a 2nd one. On the 2nd, the night of the 2nd, we get a 3rd case. By the evening of the 3rd, we had 7 cases. Songs familiar? The only songs familiar, it songs dread. You see? Just Another Look said in the previous week that Gonzalez, in his address to the nation, took up valuable time. Valuable time to deliver what Just Another Look could only describe as an elections 2020 rescue economic package. We still hold fast to that view. Yeah? In our program, we said, in a previous program, we said, as expected, Gonzalez now appears almost as though he's the lead on COVID-19. But he does not now seem capable of understanding that an ever-increasing number of Vincentians have begun to see through him and his outdated politics. One can almost conclude that Gonzalez is now an expert on coronavirus and all the action that must be taken to address the situation. And he has told us essentially in the press conference this week, last press conference, that somehow we have to be concerned about cost. because the mask has a certain cost. It's about $5 for one. The protective gear is about $40+. And we ask, what is more important? Saving the lives of Vincentians, including our healthcare professionals, or trying to make sure that we save some money. One of the things that the footage that you saw recently, of a situation in Mesco, was that these nurses were only wearing masks. And the overall protective gear, they were wearing masks. We said in our previous program that we have to be concerned about the way in which people go about responding to potential cases of coronavirus. We have a concern about our healthcare professionals. However many Gonzales may think we have now, we've seen in other countries that they've been overworked. They've been stretched to their limit because of their commitment to their profession. How prepared are we for that? Well, you're listening to Just Another Look, and we did tell you that we're going to talk about Carlos James, the new Speaker of the House. And before, we want to congratulate Carlos on his appointment to Speaker of the Vincentian House of Assembly. Congratulations. Yeah? But this offers him an excellent opportunity to forge his own pathway in the political annals of this country. Fine. Very good. It is possible that if he does his job well, he could emerge from his tenure in the position with an enhanced political reputation and a penchant for fair play, if he does his job well. On the other hand, James could emerge from his tenure as Speaker of the House with a reputation for partisanship that mars him for life. How James emerges from his tenure as Speaker of the House of Assembly is very much up to him and his ambitions. He could choose to become a political patsy, dancing to daddy's fiddle, or he can grow up and be a man wearing his own pants. But now that he's been elevated to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Just Another Look is asking, will Carlos James be committed to the truth? Just Another Look wants Carlos James to say truthfully to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines whose pistol it was that he used when in the campaign of 2015 he fired off a shot in public in North Leeward. Will Carlos James, the new Speaker of the House of Assembly, truthfully inform this country whether at the time of the firing off of the shot in public in North Leeward in 2015 he was in possession of a license to own a firearm? Will Carlos James, Speaker of the House of Assembly, truthfully inform the nation whether at the time of the firing off of the shot in public he was in possession of a licensed firearm? Or will he say when he submitted his application for a firearm license? Will he say when it was approved? And would he say where and by whom it was approved? Will Carlos James, Speaker of the House of Assembly, truthfully inform the people of this country when he procured his firearm license and when was it registered? When he procured his licensed firearm and when was it registered? You see, Just Another Look is declaring, here and now, that the position of Speaker of the House of Assembly carries with it a tremendous responsibility. One of the most awesome of the Speaker's responsibilities is a commitment to truth. Let Carlos James therefore begin now by telling the nation the truth about the firing of the shot in public in North Leeward in 2015. While the position of Speaker of the House carries much responsibility, it does not guarantee independence in the position. One is not sure that independence is even expected of the Speaker of the House anymore. There are those, for example, who suggested that Jomo Thomas at least attempted to display some level of independence, and there are many who would say otherwise. There seems to be some who strongly suggest that Jomo's appointment came because he was a member of the Unity Labour Party and had contested the general elections of 2015 on the party's ticket. But Just Another Look had expressed surprise that Jomo had agreed to contest for the party, since we were always of the view that Jomo and Gonzalez will never see eye to eye for very long. In any event, the sudden departure of Jomo from leading the Social Investment Fund, SIF, may well have been a reflection of Gonzalez's own position on Jomo. Some thought it had to do with the fact that while at SIF, Jomo made time to complete UWI's requirements to allow him to practice law in the Caribbean. Jomo decided to relinquish the position of Speaker of the House of Assembly. And while some may wish to interpret this move and his resignation from the ULP as evidence of his independence, others may not be so certain and ponder the extent to which it was more of significant differences between his own ideological and political philosophies and those of Gonzalez. Could it be that Jomo understood only too well the so-called Gonzalez mystique? Could it be that Jomo had reached a stage of understanding that perhaps Gonzalez was much more political fluff than substance? While Jomo occupied the seat of Speaker of the House, he often found himself having to chide Carlos James, his successor. To the average Vincentian willing to engage in the application of his or her critical thinking skills, James may well come across as a rabid supporter of the ULP and a seemingly willing acolyte of Gonzalez. There may well be good reason for the average critical thinking Vincentian to argue that it is not possible to arrive at a perception of James as being anything but ULP, even while sitting in the chair of the Speaker. Political colorations are normally difficult to remove. Having been a senator, an advocate for the cause of the ruling party makes it all the more difficult to put aside, even in law, one's loyalty to the party that gave one the political advancement and national status that one has enjoyed for some time. Time will tell as to just where Carlos James stands in his role as Speaker of the House. Just Another Look is very much aware of Minerva Glassgold extensive list of certificates and qualifications and a whole lot about the goodly lady. Congratulations to her on her appointment both as a senator and as a speaker in the House of Assembly. Of significance was Ms. Glasgow's statement about commitment to facts in the House of Assembly. And Just Another Look will certainly hold her to that. If Ms. Glasgow has been following the performance of members on both sides of the House over the past several years, she would have admitted in her very first speech just how difficult it is to get truth from several of those who make presentations in the House of Assembly. Miss Glasgow is known for speaking her mind, as the old people say. And the fact that she did not make reference to the challenges of challenging of ascertaining truth from presented in the House of Assembly must either have been an oversight on her part or an unwillingness to strike fear early in the hearts of all members present in the Assembly on that Thursday. Glasgow must be aware that Vincentians would monitor her, that they would monitor her performance to determine by her actions whether or not she is faithful to her words delivered on the occasion of her appointment. But more on that. Today, dear friends, the 4th day of April 2020 marks 4,838 days since the disappearance of SVJ Air J8VAX, piloted by Dominic Gonzalez with Rashid Ibrahim, the lone occupant other than the pilot. J8SXY disappeared 3,528 days since. Disappeared 3,528 days ago. It was piloted by Suresh Lakram. We keep these two disappearances ever present before us. We remind the nation of how we behave. In the case of J8VAX, thanks to Nisha Branca, the mother of Ibrahim, we got a report. Just another who never had much for the report because it didn't say much. We're still not satisfied with it. In the case of the disappearance of the other flight, piloted by Suresh Lakram, J8SXY, we are yet to see any public report. How is it that the government was insistent on this fantastic report that it was produced by the authorities on the disappearance of J8VAX? Yet, inside of 4 years later, J8SXY disappeared. And the same government, led by the same Prime Minister, who was also the Minister of Airports and Seaports, did not appear to insist on the same sort of comprehensive report. Why, was Suresh Lakram's life any less worthy? Or is it that there was nobody making enough noise? What was it that led to that happening? And then, of course, we remind you, as always, that on the 19th of September 2008, it's going to be 12 years this year, on the 19th of September 2008, Patricia Bowman, driving herself on her way to work, was crushed in her car. And somehow our legal system is claiming that it is up to her husband to try to make a case. Old people say God is good all the time. We ask our lawyers, our legal fraternity brethren, how do you feel each time you hear about this case? What does it stir up within you, if anything at all, about justice and our jurisprudence? Enough said. You'll be listening to another edition of Nice Radio's Callaloo presentation, Just Another Look. Just Another Look is an innovative, exciting, albeit decidedly provocative, and yes, certainly controversial, socio-political analysis of issues of a local, regional, and international nature. Just Another Look is heard only on Nice Radio, first aired on Saturdays at 6 p.m., with repeat broadcasts on Sundays at 9 p.m. You can catch us on the World Wide Web, www.niceradio.info. Check out our Just Another Look blog, or you can catch us on YouTube. I am, of course, Keith Joseph.